Facebook. Hello. Instagram. We're back for more fun. So, Launch Radio, we are now on episode 9.
That's so crazy.
Time flies.
Does it feel like 9 episodes?
I mean, I guess it kind of does. We've done them over a period of a few months, and I guess we started November, December, right? Like late fall.
Wow, yeah.
And we have, really, we've had guests on, various guests, and also just topics where we get to have fun and chat about all these interesting...
And that's today.
That's today.
Today's the fun chat day. But it's not so much like... It's much more informative in the sense that it's spring. This is when people are, getting into that renewal of like new relationships, new jobs, new everything. Time to move, time to kind of shift things around in life,
Everything's in bloom and changes happening and
rebirth, all that stuff.
And so we wanted to today get into kind of be on the topic of that.
Yeah.
In regards to just how people are building themselves as humans, and specifically how they're building themselves just in the world and in the work world, and how the work world connects to what their passion is, and what their skills are. And I think in 2019, it's really tricky to match, you have something you love and you have something you're good at. Sometimes things match up with what job you want or what job you're doing, and sometimes they don't. And I think people have trouble with that discrepancy.
Right.
And so because it's spring and everybody's making these changes, we thought that we would get into that a little bit.
Totally. And we both have a lot of experience when it comes to what are we doing with our lives.
I mean, we have both hopped all over the place.
Yeah. And I was telling Geoff earlier, they say average-wise that you change your career 9 times in a lifetime. Career changes, not job changes. Like, that's substantial. So if you think you're like, oh my God, I'm lost, I mean, maybe it's time for a career change, And
I feel like in LA it's like 25 times.
Yeah, I think so too.
It just feels like it's...
The city's slightly different.
We're, constantly...
Yeah. Plus everyone's doing like 8 different jobs all at the same time here just to like pay rent, but that's just total entrepreneur spirit here.
I wonder if they're factoring in like simultaneous jobs.
Right? Yeah, it's probably radically different for LA, but yeah, and I think that, there's that tone of, is it time for me to make a change? The grass is greener on the other side. Is it or is it not? All that kind of stuff. And on top of that, when it comes to like, yes, maybe it's time for a new job, but, robotics and networks and, having the internet and all of these types of technologies are taking certain jobs in a different direction.
Yeah.
Where people are trying to figure out like, is this going to exist in 5 years? Should I, or is it taking my job now? Maybe it is time for a career change that is much more leaning toward a technological perspective versus what you normally would have done in the past. I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with, and I think you and I talked about it earlier before we jumped on, is trying to figure out your own skills and what does that mean in relation to the next job, and what do you love? What's your passion? And should you follow that if you're lacking the skill set?
Right.
Like knowing if you could actually do that job and love that job and not just the idea of that job or career.
Yeah. And it reminds me of an article I read by a columnist, I think it was on the Huffington Post or on Medium, Brianna Wiest, I think her name's pronounced Wiest or Weiss, but it was brilliant. She said, you're not supposed to do what you love. You're supposed to do what you're good at. And it obviously, caused a lot of people, the article got a lot of engagement, but it caused some disagreement on one side and agreeing on one side, and people were trying to pick apart how much that factors in. Are you supposed to do what you're good at? And I remember she said that people often, they fall in love with the idea of something, with the idea of the job, of what they're doing, rather than the reality of what the job consists of. And I think that that happens especially in the arts more than anything.
Right.
Where you have people who, they want to be, they're following their passion, they want to be, an artist of some type, but they're not making any money. And many people are fine with that. And so that's, one love to that. I mean, I've lived that, and many of us have. But then a lot of people are unhappy because they want to make more money than they are. And it becomes that relevant to that article. Like, is the reality they're not, is it that their skill set isn't there for what they're wanting to do? With improved skills, does that bring in more money at whatever that job is? And so the article asks all those questions. And I think in 2019, as you said, that is just so important, especially with AI coming and with a lot of these day-to-day jobs will inevitably, and this is going to happen, they will be taking away a lot of, the jobs. I mean, AI is going to start doing stuff. And so it makes, doing different jobs, it makes you wonder, like, what does that mean for people?
Right.
Like, what does that mean for, especially artists? I always think in the artist frame, just because I've done it, but like, a lot of artists, wait tables or do the different type of jobs so that they can do their passion and go after their craft. And I find it interesting what that's all going to bring,
But I think it's a lot of chasing, like, who knew Netflix would be such a massive component in the viewing? You know what I mean? And now Apple's joined the streaming. So it's almost like, okay, chasing the next thing. Mm-hmm. Now Amazon is the way you buy everything.
Right.
It's trying to figure out, do I chase the next thing or do I continue going down the road that I know and love and somehow combine the two? Using technology, but also still doing what you love, and figuring out what that is. And I think, for me, like on a personal story note, I was in online advertising sales for 11 years. And I was getting towards the end of it at a previous company where it was a great company, loved what I was doing, but I just was like, getting really tired of sales. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to do something else. I felt it happening where I was like, I just can't do this particular job anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I received the offer from Google doing the exact same job. And there was a moment where I was like, oh man, it's Google though. How can you say no to that? It's the company, it's the opportunity. But there was that moment where I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to do this job anymore. And sure enough, like I took the job and I hated every single moment of my life. Like literally, I couldn't do it. I was already at the end of my sales career, and then to join Google was just like a disaster. So I think what you need to do almost when you're in that zone of like, what should I do? What job should I be looking for? Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be so much about, is the job, will you get the job? Is the job right for you? Yeah. Not so much the other way around. And I think that's something we never really pay attention to, in the sense that, the opportunity may be there. It may be the best job and whatever you interviewed for, but is it right for you? And take away the aspect of money and all of that. Will you be happy? Because essentially, that's all that matters. I thought I had gotten a job at Google, the pinnacle of, best place to work, blah, blah, blah. And it was literally hell on earth. And I had to quit after 2.5 years. And 3 nervous breakdowns later, like, it was bad. It was really bad. On top of everything else, and what a terrible company it actually is. But, that aside, That's another podcast topic for another date.
Another date podcast.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're only talking on Facebook and Instagram, so great competitor of Google. But anyways, looking back in hindsight, I should have made the decision of, I'm done with this career. It's time for me to find something new. And what is that? And finding my passion again. Not taking the same job at a different company, because then it just became a disaster from there. And I ultimately quit. And then I ultimately changed careers as it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
what do you think how do you think people can come to them? How do you think they can realize what's right for them? What job, where do you think it starts? Like if somebody's entering the work world, or they're not liking their job and they wish they were in something else, what do they do to figure out what the move is, what's best for them? Do you think they go inside and think about what their passions are, or do you think they try different things and try to learn that way? Like, I feel like when someone's unhappy or they don't know, which is a lot of people, I wonder what strategy we could give them to help kind of break that
for
down.
sure. Yeah. And you know what, and not to use me as an example, but after college I moved out to California and got a job in corporate and got into sales. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I was actually much more an introvert. I was a ballerina, before I went to school. So I didn't really know what I was good at. And then after 11 years of that, and after Google, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have no idea what I want to do. I don't know what I'm good at. All I know is to sell online advertising. That's all I know how to do. And all I know is I can't do that anymore. So I had to start completely from scratch all over again. And this was like a year ago where I was like, I literally have no idea what I should be doing in life. I mean, I had no clue. And I'm like, I'm in my 30s and now I'm having like a midlife crisis, existential crisis. And I read everything. I took Myers-Briggs. I took I had to figure out what my skills were. Like, what was I actually
what you're good at?
Sometimes you get so stuck in a job that you're like, I don't even know what part of this I'm actually good at anymore.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of introspective analysis of, okay, what am I good at? And then out of those things, what do I like to do out of those skills? What are the things that do I like to give I had to give presentations every single day, the CMOs, CEOs, all of that. Did I like it? I was really good at it. I knew that. Did I like it? Yeah. So it's
I think that's a good approach.
It's those types of things where it's like literally writing down the things that you're good at, taking quizzes. I had to take tons of quizzes. I have books all over my house from when I was on my leave from Google trying to figure out my life, and of numerology, like all kinds of things, that trying to find what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. And it's amazing when you start to combine some of these things, it starts to actually make some sense. So one, I would definitely take all the quizzes out there of like, what are you actually good at? One question that was really interesting when I was searching, like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? What's my passion? When people say like, do what you're passionate about, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to choke the shit out of you. I don't know what that means. I wasn't born with a passion. I was just like, I have a passion of making money.
I have a passion for life.
Right? Like, I just want to make money so I don't have to work. Is there a job for that? I just never had that.
Yeah, and so I think that's a lot of people. I think a lot of people.
For sure. It's just writing down.
So I think what you're saying, and I think that's a good approach, is yes, taking quizzes, learning more about what you're good at, where your skills are, and who you are. Self-development as a person, just learning more about who you are from doing that is huge. But I think also during that, or even before that, you can ask yourself, yes, what are you good at? Like, what so far in your life do you know that you're good at? That's the first thing to ask yourself. What am I good at? And then of what I'm good at, like, what do I love doing within that?
Right.
So, and write it down, like write down whatever that is. And then once you've made that discrepancy, and maybe there's nothing, maybe you don't know, and that's fine too. But a good amount of people will probably know what they're good and what they're not good at and what they love and what they love. Once you've done that, then I would take the quizzes and kind of let those reveal to you other aspects of yourself. I think that Myers-Briggs is a great first start. I always compare it to, it's different than astrology and horoscopes. Astrology and horoscopes, you're not actively involved in, having an aspect of what's happening. Myers-Briggs is more psychology related, and it's rating, it's telling you about your personality based on a test you take. So I would look at that. I would take the test. There's a great test online, 16 personalities, I think it is, .com, where if you take that, there's 4 different combinations of letters that you can be. There's 16 total combinations, and it's basically, there's like E and I, S and N, T and F, and P and J. And they're basically all aspects of your personality. And it'll tell you like internal, external, intuitive or sensitive. And then there's thinker, feeler, and there's perceiving, judgment. And for example, I'm in ENTP through and through, which is external, intuitive, thinker, perceiver. But I've probably taken it 15 times in my life, and a couple times instead of a P, it was a J, which is ENTJ. So
you're supposed to take it at least twice within like 6 or a year.
A year?
6 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, but if you just take it once, it's like, it's not one and done. It does change. Like mine changed. And we were trying to figure out what mine was, and I can't remember. Mine changed within 6 months, which makes sense because sometimes, depending on where you're at in your life, that changes. And I think to your point, it's not just like Myers-Briggs is great. Add another part in. I did tons of research when I was trying to figure out. I don't think one thing just gives you the ultimate answer.
Yeah.
I even looked up, and I'm like a true believer in it, is your life path.
And where does that come?
It's numerology.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I'm life path number 9, and it's just based on your birth date. And it was so interesting when I bought the book and have read lots about it. If you guys ever get a chance, go online and just look up your life path. It's really fascinating what it tells you. And when I looked it up, I was highly disappointed. Yeah. It was like a year and a half ago when I read the book through and through, what life path number 9 was, the whole thing. I'm a 27-9.
What's the name of the book again?
It is, it's in my bedroom.
Numerology. Oh, okay.
I can walk in there and get it. It's, what am I supposed to be doing? What's my passion?
Go grab it. We'll show it to them.
And I should. I can go run. I can grab it. But mine was, I'm supposed to be Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa have my life paths, and it's humanitarian. I'm supposed to be doing something bigger than me. Okay. And when I first took it, I'm like, I'm so fucking angry right now. Oh. I'm like, I don't want to, what? Yeah. I don't want to help people.
Yeah, because it didn't, yeah.
Because it just, at that point, I was like, what? Humanitarian? God. And now here I am. And as a men's advocate.
Helping people.
That's just so odd. It's like, that's now my life. And that's not something I chose to do. It just kind of fell into that place.
So see, these tests can have an impact.
Yeah, and it's just not one. I would do all of them. And it gives you like a good overview of just like, one may stick more than the other,
There's one called Enneagram or something. Have you heard of that?
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
An Enneagram test where it gives you a number. I think it's like 1 through 9. I'm a 7, but it tells you about your personality. It's another form of like a personality test.
I wonder what your life path is. We'll have to do it.
We'll have to test it out. I know what my astrology is, but that's different. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
What are you?
I don't know. Leo, August 3rd.
Oh, Leo.
Leo with, I'm pretty good actually, I remember it. It's Leo, Sun, Virgo, Moon.
Okay.
And then Aquarius, Rising.
Interesting.
Which astrology people always tell me, they're like, I see the Aquarius.
I do see the Aquarius.
Yeah, people say, and it's very interesting. Astrology is very interesting. What are you?
I'm a Gemini sun. No haters. I get it. We get hate on like so hard. I get it though. My sister's a Gemini. She's the worst. Anyways.
Gemini's twins, right?
Yeah. Split personality. Yeah. But it's true. Sometimes we wake up and we're like, I'm sorry, who are you? Who's this person? But I'm not like that. I'm not that schizophrenic.
So you feel it in you, though. You definitely...
Yeah. We can't make decisions because one twin is telling you one thing to do. It's mind-numbing. But the sun, so I'm Gemini, sun, and then my moon is Capricorn, which is like almost polar opposite.
And moon is like the dark side, kind of the side you don't show to the world, I think, right?
Yeah, it's like the side that you actually kind of are, but sun is what you really show to everyone.
Got it.
So...
and then there's rising, I think.
Rising, I am a Aries, the fire sign.
And I think rising you show to everyone too, right?
Yes. Aries is like, you're like,
yeah. Sun and rising.
Yeah.
See, we're teaching astrology today. You're learning all sorts of things. So,
but I think it goes back to the point of like, if you're in that point where like, I don't know, should I jump ship? I hate my fucking job. What do I do? I have bills to pay. I've got kids. I've got a wife, family, whatever it is. You have to do what's best for you and what will ultimately make you happy.
yes.
And if you can take out, when I was trying to figure out what to do, I was constantly thinking like, wait, I can't think of that because it won't make me enough money. And you start to put blinders on. The minute you're like, no, I can't do that job because it won't make me enough money, or I can't do that career because it doesn't make money. You start to really get way too focused, and you start to take everything out that could be a possibility. The minute you start really thinking about what can make me money versus what makes me happy, if you just focus on money, you will not find your passion. I'm telling you right now, it will not happen.
You know what's also relevant to that is focusing on what you're saying, which is, don't focus on money, which money is really oftentimes, unless you're going to a job that's suddenly going to pay you, $250,000 a year, which is unlikely, like following what makes you happy is following where you are in the moment, in that present, and that's what to follow, is follow what you're feeling in that moment, because intuition's a big deal, and oftentimes I think people sabotage that to go for something that they think will make them long-term money, and then they get 10 years into it, and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Or you do make the money, and you hate every single minute of every life, of every day. Do you know what I mean? And you're absolutely miserable.
And I feel like...
money is definitely will not make you happy. I will tell you, and I thought it would for me, and absolutely not. It's amazing how many times you hear that cliched statement, and you're like, oh my God, if I just could make X, and then you do, but you're hating what you do, or you dislike what you do, no amount of money is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a great speech from philosopher Alan Watts. Have you heard of Alan Watts? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's brilliant. He talks about how, it's called life is a, the journey, life is a journey. And he talks about how there's people that live to retire, and they just want to get to retirement. And it's brilliant in this. He talks about how first you go to school, you go to high school, and then you go to college, and then you're going to enter the work world, and you're going to, you're 22, and by 40 you're going to have that money, and you're going to have that job, and you're going to be 43 and be primed, and then you get to 43, and you're like, I'm here. Like,
now what?
But it isn't what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And then there's people who live for retirement, and they're like, I'm going to get that big, he talks about big thing's coming, it's coming, it's coming, I'm going to retire. And then they retire, and then they're like, well, this isn't that much either.
Right.
So people keep living for what they think is the idea of what they want, instead of what they're wanting in the moment. And we look too much at, that's where we get this idea of things, and I think that oftentimes, that impacts people in a very negative way. And life and the job world and developing skills and finding out who you are, it really is, and this is the final thing Alan Watts talks about, is it's like music. It really is it's like a dance in a way. Life is, you have to just follow the rhythm of how things are feeling in each moment, instead of thinking about things that might sound good, but there's no guarantees. And when you do that, you just never know, because something, life can take you different ways that you didn't expect to.
And I think there's that, and it's almost like we could do a whole podcast on it where people feel lost a lot of times, and jobs can make you feel lost, and relationships can make you feel lost, and there's the midlife. They call them midlife situations or midlife transitions now instead of crisis, because crisis is a little, there's nothing wrong with it. I absolutely went through a midlife transition, I guess, where I'm like, I have no idea what the F I'm doing in life. I hate my job. I hate my everything. I think we forget that we're all human and that we're changing and developing, and our, what we're passionate about may not be the same each day, and it's okay to go through a new transition and figuring out who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's embracing that and knowing that this is, when you're going through that I feel lost type of mentality, know that you're in like a really amazing pinnacle point in your life where it's going to shift dramatically. So like embrace it. It could be the most depressing part of your life, or you can make it a very opportunistic part of your life. Yeah. Embrace that you're just open to everything at this point. You're in a really good, amazing spot to be able to have that,
Yeah. And
you're not so much lost. You're on the journey of life,
Yeah, it is a journey. And I think that, you made a great point kind of within that.
Just one point, Geoff? I make amazing points all the time.
You make just incredible. I mean, it's so many good points here.
But this one especially.
Oh,
got it. Okay.
No, anyway, I'm laughing and I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say, though, was I think it's relevant in that, one thing that the brilliant Simon Sinek, who's kind of a psychologist, he talks about finding your why. And while I think it is important to find your why, I think one thing to keep in mind, which is your amazing point, is that we're always changing. We're always changing, and your why can change as you go through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. Your why can change, and your why often does change, even several times throughout your life. And so I wrote an article, 6 months ago, about how it's okay if you don't know your why. Yeah. Because you may have a different why than you used to. And obviously I'm taking on Simon Sinek a little bit in this, he's quite reputable, but I agree it's good to know your why, but I don't think that that's the end all, because your why can change. Right. And, the life is like the ocean, things change, things come in waves, so don't stress yourself out if you're 25 and you don't know what your why is. You're okay, and don't stress yourself out if you're 35 and you don't know what your why is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or 45 or 55. I think we put really high expectations on ourselves, and then we get like severely disappointed when life isn't perfectly mapped out. Like, I'm 30 and I'm not married yet and have kids. Life is a disaster. Yeah. I have so many friends that had that happen. It's just like, who told you that's how life is supposed to be? It's these rules. People think there's like rules. A rule book where I need to make X amount of money. And for men, especially, unfortunately, they have to deal with it a lot more, because it's like, you're the provider. You have to have shit figured out. Women, we're allowed to be hot messes, but men, you're not allowed to go through a crisis. You're not allowed to go through that, oh my God, what am I doing in my life? And that's not fair. Yeah. To be the strong man in the family trying to figure out your own life, meanwhile trying to provide. So there's a lot of aspects. Give yourselves, a lot more credit. You're going through the transitions that life kind of brings at you. It's not supposed to be full of cupcakes and lollipops, is what I always say. Okay, yeah, for sure. It's not just unicorns and we're living like some amazing life. You're going to have curveballs thrown at you, I bet. Yeah, and I think that that's the big message today. Is really that wherever you are, like, you're okay in what you're doing, whether you don't have a job, whether you have a job, and if you're looking for more, and if you're looking to figure out what job you should go to, or where you should go, the best thing to do is to find out, what you're good at, which you do by asking yourself first, and ask others. I asked a ton of people what they perceived me to be when they first met me, or what they
And I'm shocked with the things that they say. They're like, you're really good at listening. You're really good at X. I'm like, yeah, I knew I was good at that, but I didn't know it was overwhelmingly high. So ask people. You know, a lot of times we get so introverted and introspective that ask what other people think about you, you know?
And you'd be surprised what people
will come out.
say.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a good one you threw that into, because that's important to do. And then, take tests, learn about yourself, just all of that.
Absorb it all. Yeah.
And it really will help you. And don't have these expectations people have based on kind of old, I guess, programming that society has put into us about we have to do this, we have to retire, we have to make this type of money, we have to get married and have this many kids. And that's all just stuff that's people have created before us. And life doesn't have to be a certain way on a certain path. Just stay true to who you are inside.
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing note to end on. It's like, just always stay true to who you are, whatever that is. Don't compare yourself to others like, oh, well, they're married and X, Y, and Z. It's like, who cares? You're on a different path. And if you're going to be judged for it, then you don't need those people in your life, whether they're family or friends. Be careful of who you have in your circle. You want supportive people, not people that are going to put you down, whether that's a relationship or not. So
100%.
I know we threw a lot out today, but I think it's a big subject, and hopefully that helped. But it'd be really interesting to hear you guys' comments on it. We post this on YouTube, and you can follow on YouTube, subscribe, Launch Radio.
We're also we have a bunch, some are on SoundCloud now, we're a few behind, we're gonna put the rest up there. I think there's one or two that might not be up there yet. I'm gonna put that link on social media soon once they're up there, but they're all on my YouTube. We're gonna have them on SoundCloud. We're going to, in a couple weeks, we're going to be doing an event at a restaurant.
Super excited by that.
Yeah.
We got invited to do our podcast at an event, which is super dope.
It's going to be at Mrs. Fish restaurant, and we're really excited about that. We'll have details for that out soon.
And I'm seeing all these comments that it looks like people are loving this, that they said it's like, I'm just like noticing that, like, well, thanks, that was really helpful today. I think we just get down on ourselves, too easily. It's just like, hey, you're totally fine. You guys are doing amazing. Just always say that to yourself. It's okay. It's just life.
We're glad you guys are watching and enjoying. So much more to come. Yes. We're having fun. And this is Geoff and Launch Radio. We will see you guys soon.
Bye, guys. Good seeing you.
Later.